Hey guys, Tyler here. Tribbles are small, non-intelligent alien life forms in the Star Trek universe. One of the most recognizable aspects of the franchise, the round, furry creatures are known for their rapid reproductive rate and for emitting cooing sounds when touched, which has a tranquilizing effect on the human nervous system. Hailing from the planet Iota Geminorum 4, Tribbles might not seem like they have a lot in common with typical Earth life. But as I've demonstrated throughout my alien biology series, the parallels between fictional extraterrestrials and familiar fauna go deeper than you might expect. In this video, I'd like to highlight some major facts about the Tribbles' biology and history, comparing them to our expectations about aliens in real life. Let's get started. Before we go any further, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about today's sponsor, Star Trek Fleet Command. Have you ever wanted to command a starship to explore strange new worlds and lead your crew in fierce battles against space pirates? Well, I just might have the game for you. Star Trek Fleet Command is a free-to-play open-world MMO set in the ever-expanding Star Trek universe. Recruit legendary characters like Kirk and Spock, build powerful ships like the Enterprise, and send them on missions of exploration to expand your territory. Engage players from around the world in epic battles to test your strategic ability, negotiate alliances for greater gain, and harvest the galaxy's resources to upgrade your fleet. Experience breathtaking space visuals and other stunning graphics that create an immersive experience. With a new, immersive story set in the Kelvin timeline, players are offered a fresh narrative, exploring alternate dimensions and storylines. The game is free, and every month new events and content are added to it. Before November 28th, you can receive a special James T. Kirk starter pack. Download Star Trek Fleet Command on desktop or mobile using the link in my description or QR code on screen. Once in-game, go to your player profile, settings, general, and scroll down to sign up for your Scopely account. Then go to the official StarTrekFleetCommand.com and click Store to log in. Once there, access promo codes on the left menu. Open the promo codes page and enter the code ENERGIZE to redeem your rewards. Once redeemed, you'll be able to see them in-game. Must redeem before level 10. Thank you to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to it. By themselves, Tribbles are quite incapable of harming sentient beings. They don't even possess teeth as we know them. They're fairly slow, though they're able to scale and cling to vertical surfaces. Nevertheless, left unchecked, they can rapidly multiply and devastate entire ecosystems on a planetary scale. Half of their metabolism is dedicated solely to reproduction, and notably, they are even born pregnant. A single Tribble with sufficient food can generate offspring exponentially through asexual reproduction, producing a new generation, on average a litter of 10, every 12 hours. Over the course of 3 days, a single Tribble can account for over 1.7 million progeny. While this is a staple characteristic of the Tribble, it has been suggested that this rapid breeding variety is actually not how Tribbles naturally evolved, but that they were genetically engineered to do so. Tribbles are referred to by Dr. McCoy in the original series episode, The Trouble with Tribbles, as being bisexual, though the meaning of the word in this context is of course different from its common usage today. What McCoy, and thus the writers, meant was hermaphroditic, that is, possessing characteristics of both biological sexes. This is actually a common trait found in most mollusks and earthworms, enabling a form of sexual reproduction in which either partner can act as male or female. While asexual reproduction is, of course, the default for single-celled organisms like bacteria, many types of plants, animals, and fungi are also able to reproduce asexually. Invertebrates, the most common type of asexual reproduction, is called parthenogenesis, practiced like they do it consciously, by Komodo dragons and some monitor lizards. I talk about parthenogenesis briefly in my video about the Asari from Mass Effect, link in the description. As for being born pregnant, believe it or not, there's actually a real-life analog for this too. The phenomenon of telescoping generations can occur in a parthenogenetic species, like aphids, that are capable of reproducing without ovum fertilization. It is generally characterized by viviparous female, or one who can give live birth, having a daughter growing inside her who is also parthenogenetically pregnant with her own daughter cell. It's like Russian nesting dolls, but with wombs. Am I going to be able to monetize this video? So, while tribbles being described as hermaphroditic might seem at odds with them being parthenogenetic, for this alien species, such an evolutionary adaptation seems to have just worked. Outlawed on most worlds by the mid-22nd century, tribble populations are kept in check on their homeworld by large numbers of reptilian predators. This fact is conveyed in a line of dialogue by Dr. Phlox in Star Trek Enterprise, suggesting that even by the 2150s, the supposedly genetically engineered rapid breeding variety of tribble is in fact the dominant one on their homeworld. But what else do we know about their homeworld? Well, the star it orbits, Iota Geminorum, is a real-life yellow giant 120 light-years away. It has nearly 2 times the mass of the Sun, but 10 times its radius, and shines with 48 times the Sun's luminosity. At 4.16 billion years old, the Iota Geminorum star system is slightly younger than our solar system, but old enough that a hypothetical rocky planet in its habitable zone could sustain liquid water on its surface. Because of Iota Geminorum's advanced size, its habitable zone would be much further out than a typical yellow star, but as multiple studies have indicated, giant stars could actually warm up normally frozen worlds and make it easier for them to sustain life. In any event, we never get to see the surface of Iota Geminorum 4, aka Tribble Prime, in canon, but various non-canon comics depict it as having a Class M type environment, with large, root-like plant structures towering amidst green foliage. The other main fact we do know about Tribble Prime, though, is that it's located in or near Klingon space in the Beta Quadrant. This is actually important, believe it or not. Indeed, tribbles are a notorious ecological menace for the Klingons, to whom tribbles react violently. According to the non-canon Starfleet Medical Reference Manual, this mutual dislike is because both species have a keen sense of smell, with both finding the stench of the other extremely unpleasant. At first, Klingons attempted to breed a predator called a glommer to eliminate the threat, as seen in the animated series episode More Tribbles, More Troubles. However, the glommer is only used once, aboard the USS Enterprise in 2269, and proves unable to deal with the large number of tribbles on board. Join the club. During this time, an attempt is made by Cyrano Jones to genetically re-engineer tribbles so that they would not reproduce. This has parallels with real-world attempts to genetically modify mosquitoes in a similar fashion to help combat malaria, the leading cause of death in humans annually. Unbeknownst to Jones, however, his genetic engineering is very sloppy, and instead results in the tribbles appearing to grow to an immense size rather than rapidly breeding. As it turns out, though, these giant tribbles are actually colonies, and they're by the way, all this is just kind of gross, like. And their growth is remedied by Dr. McCoy injecting a simple shot of neoethylene, causing the colonies to break down into individual units with slower metabolic rates, and finally becoming safe tribbles. Safe, of course, being a relative term, although if it's their naturally occurring form, then that would explain why so many people can have them as pets. But back to the Klingons, we find out in Trials and Tribulations that the Empire's ultimate solution is to wipe out the species entirely. In the late 23rd century, according to Worf, Klingon warriors were sent to hunt down tribbles throughout the galaxy, and Tribble Prime was obliterated.
Tell me, do they still sing songs of the great Tribble hunt?
Despite the destruction of the Tribble homeworld, though, many humans continue to have the creatures as pets well into the late 24th century. And much to the chagrin of Klingons everywhere, due to the time travel shenanigans of the Defiant crew in Trials and Tribulations, tribbles are reintroduced to the galaxy in 2373. According to the reference book The Making of the Trek Films, an edible Cannibal Tribble was designed for Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country to be ripped open by one of the Klingon guards on Rura Penthe. The prop would be filled with gummy worms and tapioca, but this was not seen in the movie as it was thought to be too disgusting. That said, a scepter carried by Rura Penthe's commandant has fur that was scripted to be from a Tribble. According to Roberto Orsi, it was devised that Tribbles might be poisonous to humans, much like blowfish, properly called puffers, some species of which are toxic. The Trouble with Tribbles writer David Gerrold has said that the story was his reinterpretation of the rabbit explosion in Australia. Some of you might be familiar with this story. In the late 18th century, European rabbits were introduced to the Australian continent. They were bred for food, primarily in cages, and in the first decades appear not to have been very numerous. But by 1827, they had started to overrun the island of Tasmania, running around, quote-unquote, on some large estates by the thousands, according to a local newspaper article. In the 1850s, a man named Alexander Buchanan released several rabbits for hunting sport. Because, you know, why the f not? Their population remained fairly stable until about 1866, protected by an act of parliament and presumed to have been kept in check by the native carnivores, much like the reptilian life forms on Tribble Prime. But by 1867, they were out of control. The rabbits' population explosion was credited to the disappearance of native predators, but the overarching reason seems to be the natural selection of a hardier breed. Mild winters allowed rabbits to breed throughout the year, and widespread farmland created ideal habitats. The current infestation seems to have originated with Thomas Austin's release of 24 wild rabbits in October 1859 in Victoria for, again, hunting purposes. Within 10 years, 2 million could be shot or trapped every year without having any noticeable effect on the overall population. Australia introduced many control measures over the decades, the most effective of which being biological control starting in the latter half of the 20th century. In the audio commentary for More Tribbles, More Troubles, Gerrold reveals that the idea for Tribbles themselves came from a fuzzball keychain owned by a college girlfriend of his named Holly Sherman, after whom Sherman's planet is named. He also mentions that Desilu contracted creature designer Hua Chang hired a woman named Jacqueline Kumair to make 500 Tribbles for The Trouble with Tribbles. The props are made from a piece of fake fur sewn up into a ball about 5 inches in diameter. The ball is filled with foam rubber, with some containing a decapitated walking toy dog inside the fur skin activated to make the Tribble crawl. For the sequel episode in DS9, at least one Tribble prop was outfitted with a remote control, as was the Tribble scene in the 2009 Star Trek film, and the one scene in Star Trek Into Darkness was a puppet operated by J.J. Abrams. TOS sound designer Douglas Grindstaff, in consultation with Gene Roddenberry, helped create the various noises made by the Tribbles. For the coo, Grindstaff took a recording of a dove coo, flipped the track over, and shaved part of it off with a razor blade. He then looped it and put it on a variable speed machine, which he could then use to alter the pitch. For the sound of a Tribble rearing up, he used the sound of a screech owl, and peppered throughout the episode were also the sounds of rubbing balloons mixed with other samples from the studio's sound library, composited to make various Tribble sound effects. Hopefully this has been a sufficient overview of this iconic Star Trek species. Maybe not what you expected from my alien biology series, huh? Well, in any case, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below and don't forget to share it. That stuff really helps me out. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that as well so you won't miss future uploads, and click the bell icon to receive all notifications. If you want to support my work even further, you can become a patron at patreon.com/orangeriver, link in the description, or become a YouTube member by clicking the join button on my channel page. By becoming a patron or member, you get access to awesome perks like behind-the-scenes photos and videos, patron and member-only polls, name in the credits, merch discounts, and more. Or you can drop a one-time super thanks or PayPal donation, all are appreciated. Links to my PayPal as well as my social media and merch store are in the description too. That's all I have for this week. Good hunting.